Hey Guardians, and welcome back to Fireteam Chat. I am here with Sean Finnegan.
Hello, everyone.
And CJ, the video guy, Gibson.
What's up?
What's going on? This is episode 70, and before we get into today's episode, which is going to cover, Bungie has swung the ban hammer publicly, noted that they've been taking down some cheaters. May Melee is the big topic. They've adjusted some melees since this Tuesday. They also had a Twitch stream on the art of Destiny, and we'll get into that a little bit, talk about the upcoming streams that Bungie's doing, and Destiny recruitment. Not about getting jobs at Bungie, but in fact,
unfortunately,
looking for other Guardians, and they're going to be developing some companion app stuff. So before we get into the show, a reminder, of course, check us out on the iOS app, the Android app, the PS4 app, Apple TV, whatever you got, we're there.
Xbox One.
That's right. We'd appreciate it. And it's a great place to watch the show and more IGN content. So, with plugs out of the way, let's start with the first topic. Oh, I actually feel bad. I should mention, Destin has been on vacation. So if you've been worried about him, I keep forgetting, like, Destin's missing. It wasn't meant to be mysterious. He's just having a great time.
Yeah, don't worry about Destin. He's in China and Taiwan with his beautiful girlfriend.
That's right.
Enjoying the sun on the beach.
We're seeing the updates. Yeah, it's a good time.
If anything,
He's doing
worry
all
about
right.
us stuck in this room.
We actually should have done updates on what Destin's been doing on vacation, which partially included screening IGN videos. So shame on you.
Sorry about that. And
That's
swimming
right.
with sharks. That is a legit thing. There was a shot.
Did not know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
you should see it. So hopefully, that there's no more of that. And he's back for sure.
We heard from him last night. I think he's fine.
He's all right.
All right, let's get on to the show. The first topic is I wanted to talk about the ban hammer. They've publicly said on Twitter, Bungie, and I think this is more of a show of force. They just said hours ago, and we're recording this Friday the 13th, around noon Pacific
Is it
time
really
here.
Friday the 13th?
It really is.
Oh, snap.
Creepy theme show. There's no theme to today's show. That's Friday the 13th. But anyway, Bungie has said, before we reveal the Trials of Osiris map this week, which is Bannerfall, I just revealed it, know that the security response team just banned a bunch of cheaters. Play nice. It had a lot of likes, a lot of retweets.
Yeah.
There was no real details. They referred you back to their help page. And that was my question to you guys. First of all, thank you, Bungie, for making a note of it. I think actually the community would want you just to say this more, show us that you're doing something. But I will also say I have no idea when people are cheating, because the lag is all over the place.
So
how do you know?
That's exactly kind of what I wanted to point out is I would like to know what exactly constitutes as cheating. Because we are aware that people do cheat, but it's always kind of been nebulously defined. Like, there's people out there who, my Fireteam people will call it lag switching.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I suppose it's like taking advantage of the way your networking works so that you appear to be lagging when you're really not.
Well, you introduce lag into the match with this switch is how it works. Actually, I haven't done it or anything.
With the sole goal of making you more difficult to kill.
Yeah, because the hit detection gets all messed up. It can even drag your team down.
And I mean, we've all experienced it, those of us who play PvP regularly, just even in Crucible, that there's sometimes random people who are always in red bar, but never seem to have their own performance affected. Yeah. So we've seen it before, but just I don't know if that's, I guess my question would be I think it's interesting to define what is just network issues versus what is cheating,
Yeah, I think.
But I think everyone is on board with the fact that there are less cheaters. Everyone hates cheaters. It sucks to play against them. So good on Bungie for actually addressing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it can be done. I mean, I assume that Bungie starts to look into how often is this person lagging. They have been doing this for a very long time. I don't know how it worked in Halo back in the day. Maybe you guys can talk a little bit about that, but they have ways to look at it. So I think if somebody's getting a lot of reports, look, that's got to be the start of it. The people who get a report here and there infrequently, there's no pattern. They must have a system for tracking patterns. So if somebody's constantly a lag problem, something might be up, and they'll probably take a good look.
Maybe, yeah. And I would love, and again, I report every single person I fight against who has red bar because I just get annoyed. But
and if they have too many kills and not enough,
well, that's what
really makes them mad.
That's what I have to imagine, right? Is if they're red bar and I report them and other people report this person, Bungie takes a look and then I have to defer to their judgment as to figure out whether or not it's just an issue with their connection or if they're actually lag switching, right? Because what if you're just you live in the forests of Alaska and your internet is just 56K.
And that's an issue too. I mean, I played with a couple friends from Hawaii. Their internet, for whatever reason, was always notoriously slow or laggy.
They're on an island.
And there was that issue. Yeah, and you were like, is this a connection problem? And often it was. But how they detect connection problems consistently with cheating, that's a whole, that's
I'm sure they have much more deep tools than we have. Obviously,
Yeah,
we
they
just
have,
speculate.
Again, I think they look for some trends. Maybe this is some answers that we can get out of them, or maybe they already have these answers on their forums. But I don't think so. I think they don't want you to know exactly what they're looking for.
Totally.
They'll abuse the system.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's other things that can happen of people like in Rumble, trying to help each other, not just for like a quest line or something, which I've done, by the way. I don't consider that.
Yeah, how else are you supposed to complete that last word kills?
I know. The first curse, man. Totally. Like I did.
Swoop in.
Yeah, actually, to describe that for any of you who have not done it. So in first curse, you have to get, I think it's like a 7 kill streak or something.
Yeah.
In one match, and so it's much
Not
easier.
an easy thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I might be getting flack for this now, but like
No
truly,
problem.
like I don't find that fun. If it was fun, I'm not gonna like game the system. But it's like the same way that we find like we've woken the hive and going to that spot on the moon. It just makes the quest easier and more, call it fun. And so anyway, you can go into Rumble with a friend and be like, just come over here and shoot me in the head.
And
it's still actually challenging, by the way, to not be seen and get the job done. So.
And I actually wouldn't, in my mind, that doesn't constitute cheating because you're taking advantage of a mechanic that exists in the game, right? Like this is something that people used to talk about all the time in World of Warcraft is the whole working as intended thing.
Well, but you're not supposed to be able to join with a friend in Rumble and take advantage of getting the highest kill, right? Like,
But
and that's not what we were doing.
What I'm
either,
referring
right?
to here is the quest line that rewards you, the chaperone, that really long PvP quest line. The first step is you have to get, it's like a percentage, 100% of last word kills in Rumble.
Go renowned
And
in the Crucible.
I had a pretty tough time doing that, and I was a big last word guy, and this is when last words was good.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And
Eye roll.
so I think I remember getting to like 70% before being like, oh, I can just have 2 of my friends jump into a Rumble playlist with me and just have them tell me where they are, and I'll come and find them and kill them, and I completed the quest really quick. But if Bungie really didn't want that happening, and clearly they probably didn't intend for that to be the way you do it, but that mechanic exists. Like there's no way to address that strategy, to make that strategy not viable by disallowing people to not have their friends in the Rumble playlist with them. So
yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. And look, I don't think it's considered cheating, and that's it'd be interesting to hear what you guys think. Like, I actually did. There were some people in there who were like really mad, and I was like, I'm doing like a quest line. Like, dude, I'm not ruining the game for you. I didn't even get the highest score. I wasn't going for that.
I think what you're talking about though is 2 different things. Like exploits within the game, that's totally different versus the banhammer to stop cheaters in PvP.
Yeah,
and for sure they have those technologies to.
Well, I mean,
to
again, the point of that discussion was just like, listen,
what is
cheating? Yeah, cheating is like in a lot of people's minds. There's a spectrum to it,
Yeah, but I don't think. Yeah, they're not chasing down people like that. It is definitely, I'm sure, people who constantly are lagging out.
Although I'm sure a bunch of people who did get banned were like, I wasn't cheating. I was just doing this, like working as intended. No, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I've had an amazing cheat session. If I can explain this for 2 seconds, I one time had a trial match where it was the last round, and people actually it's the 9th round. Yeah, so of course I didn't have. I was 3 coins short.
Uh-oh.
Story of my life.
Yeah.
And
didn't have that mercy, bro.
Didn't have that mercy. My friends went to the lighthouse, and I was like, oh, we'll just do one more. Burning Shrine was the very first week of trials. The people all stood in the center for the whole 2 minutes of the match until the capture point appeared.
Yeah, sure.
And I couldn't hit them. So I couldn't melee them. We couldn't shoot them. We couldn't do damage.
What?
And they were just standing there. So I still have the gameplay where that's happening. I'm like, that's cheating.
Yeah, for sure.
And before that, you hadn't encountered that.
No, I have not.
Happened to be the
It just
last round.
Exactly.
The 5th round of the last round.
So when those are happening, it's like I remember saving
obvious.
that clip and sending it. I'm like, okay, get rid of those guys. So that's a little different
more
than lagging.
obvious.
Yeah,
and I think
that doesn't happen often. But when it does, you're like, oh, it still is amazing that occurred.
That's the stuff people were looking for. If you heard a beep, I think my laptop, which is in the room, just made a
I was wondering what that was.
It's very heavenly sound, by the way. It'll be throughout the show.
Transition.
Don't worry. So yeah, actually, perfect timing. Thanks, producer laptop. We should move on to the next topic.
Now it's doing way more than just a notification.
You know what's awesome, actually, for those
Why is
at
it?
home? It's playing it was playing the Twitch stream for the Art of Destiny, which is not our next topic.
Why
We'll
would
get
it
back to
give
that
you
in a second.
notifications when it's closed?
I don't know. My laptop has
Microsoft.
gone sentient. by the way.
Microsoft
Yeah.
laptops, man.
I think my laptop is cheating in Destiny. Anyway, let's move on. We don't need to We don't need to rewind that and go back. So, okay, next topic, May Melees. That was a big update this week. So, what they've been working on 2.2.02, which is the latest update. Melees in particular, right? We're not connecting. They talked about the distance from a player's head versus where the hand hits. And so this was something that in particular affected Titans.
Who have the shortest melee.
Yeah, and Hunters. Warlocks have very long distance melees, which people still think are too much. But let's read some of the feedback that I pulled from Bungie's forum. I did try to look around and see if there's any trends. This is not intended to be painting a particular picture. This is just some of the stuff that I found. And I think we need more time with this topic is the point. So, okay, for starters, Agent X407 said, I've noticed almost zero changes to melee. Still misses most of the time, especially on my Titan. Why is it that the class that's supposed to punch things has the worst melee? Okay.
So true.
Yeah. So he's not noticing the change. He or she is not noticing the changes. So next up, UGL13RTH4NU. I'm sure that has a clever pronunciation.
Dude, it's uglier than you.
Oh, it is.
Learn to read lead speak.
Wow,
dude.
that is so obvious now that I'm looking. I can't do that live on the show. Okay,
I just did.
Nah, you did. You had more time. Okay, anyway.
I just looked at it.
All right, you get a medal. Okay, next he goes on to say, running some Crucible today, mostly 3v3 modes. Got hit a couple of times and went flying across the map. Kind of like when you get meleeed with a Cabal shield. I have another one that was from Shadow 336K. How do you pronounce that? Sean.
You did it right.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so he also said, a Sunbreaker's charged melee sent me flying. So there was actually a number of these comments, and I actually did encounter this. And I was trying to remember if this, I definitely have encountered it in the past, but I think I encountered it again this week. And so I think there's something going on with this new change that is causing that massive, force that sends you flying across the map. I thought it was hilarious, but obviously that's not intended. And I survived the hit.
What?
And so it was really weird that I went flying into a wall and I was able to land. It didn't kill me and came back down. So I do think this is a real thing that's going on. There was actually more commentary than this in there.
I thought you were referring to after they take the hit, their body, and they die, their body goes flying.
That happens. And, in the past, before the update, I've gone out into the sky and ceiling. This one, I think that's happening to some people, but I also happened to survive one.
Yeah.
And it was really strange.
And did you have fall damage? Were you high enough that you got?
No. I was I think, I forget which map, but it was pretty low. So I just hit a wall and it was a weird thing. And I was able to get back on the ground.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's definitely something going on maybe where they're going to have to tweak this. It sounds like it's a bug. I mean, look, this happens when you make changes. That's why they're afraid to make these changes, obviously.
Yeah, when you change those hitboxes and stuff like that, you're probably going to encounter that more often. Just it'll be interesting to see. I have not yet done it. I'm looking forward to trials this weekend, and melees galore. I'm sure we'll be able to figure that out.
On the other hand, Phoenix Slash says, I'm loving the changes so far. Melees feel more snappy, and the hit detection and target locking feels fantastic. Thank you, Bungie.
Easy Hunter, though. Bungie. That's the question.
I don't know, but I saw some feedback in there as well about still some issues on the Hunter side, too. Yeah. So, I mean, look, not trying to say that it's not working, but this was definitely some of the feedback that I saw in there. And actually, I'm going to go to my Twitter really fast where I left a poll, and we'll see if we got many results. I actually had asked, how are the new May melee changes working for you in the latest Destiny game update? Only about 100 votes so far. It was a little early, so if you want to get in there and vote, at Fran Mirabella on my Twitter, it's there. 47% are saying it's not noticeable. 17% are saying it's great. 23% say okay, and 13% say worse. So, you really add it up over, the majority say it's not noticeable or worse. And a little less than half say that it's improved. And so, again, those are early results. We'll see how that goes. Maybe talk about it on the next show. But
the caveat question would be, and what class are you? Because again, Titan Hunter, and I mean, if there's
they know we're talking about maybe, but it's true. It's true. I probably should have caveated that.
Yeah.
Well, you screwed the whole poll now.
It's okay.
CJ, video guy. That's a Fran note normally right there. I'm always looking for the way out, so to disprove something.
Apologies.
No, it's quite all right. So I did have one last point of feedback in here, which I thought was very interesting. And so KBoss722 says, Shoulder charge range is ridiculous. Better than some shotguns now. It's the only one I could find.
Of course.
But if you've been,
because most people think it's pretty balanced.
But if you've been watching the show, I've been on my quest that I totally think shoulder charges just like, it's too much, man. Like, I definitely have dodged them, that happens, but I'll have my back to people sometimes, and the ability to come slamming into me drives me nuts. So again, I'm totally jealous.
How is it any different than just getting shot in the back?
Because they can do it from so far away. So for the radar,
it lights further
up.
Away.
Now you can't get in that fast. It moves at a faster speed, obviously, once you're really trucking in on someone. It locks onto them.
It does not lock on.
It targets them.
It doesn't target.
It does. It moves
you
towards
charge
them.
in a straight line.
Well, that's what I mean, though. But yeah, it's moving towards you at a faster rate. It's not just like walking.
It's a charge.
I know.
It's like a loop.
I know, but that's the point. You can move anyway. I just
this.
like to create this moment on the show, basically. And I know, by the way, there's a ton of people out there who are so mad that I keep bringing it up. So in part,
you're a warlock. You can melee me further than the shoulder charge goes.
I'm not saying.
I love it when I play with you, and every time like a Titan does that, I just hear and I already know what happened.
Yeah. I mean, look, the reality is every class has some imbalance that people don't like.
Yes.
This happens to be one of mine. I see these too much, and that's just me. And you're totally right. And there's tons of people on the other side who are like, dude, I got punched to death by that warlock. Please fix it, or whatever it may be. So I mean, I totally get it.
Oh yeah, dude. How many times have you fought? Even being a warlock, how many times have you fought a warlock where you clearly had the advantage, and then they just melee something?
Shield.
Yeah.
And they gain an overshield out of thin air.
Yeah, well, the flame shield is awesome.
Yeah, it's absurd.
Like, and they even nerfed it recently, and it's not as strong as it used to be, but it still changes most of... Like, it's still a game... It's still an encounter-changing thing.
Yeah.
Like, it can definitely give you the edge over someone in a 1v1.
Yeah, but you can get overshields on other characters, too, so it's not an exclusive feature. But... the melee feature makes it a very nice version.
Only as a defender titan. Yeah. No one runs defender titans in PvP.
Well, I know some Bubble Brothers who do that.
Oh my gosh.
If you go back to an old episode. Anyway, no big deal, actually. I thought that was funny that there was a comment in there. At least somebody out there agrees with me. It's like a campaign now. I know,
somewhere
every week
is going to find.
Let's talk about that.
Totally just kidding on that one, everybody. So let's move on to our next topic.
Well, you didn't ask us what we thought.
Oh, yeah. Well, you guys said you haven't had a chance to play that much. So
I played a little bit.
Okay.
I didn't really know. I voted in your poll.
Okay. Oh, you did. Wow. He's one of the
100.
The 1%ers.
I haven't really noticed much of a change. That was the thing that I noticed. Like, that was the thing that I marked right there. I play a Titan and I play a Hunter. It's not a bad thing, though, that I haven't noticed a change, because, to be honest, like, I wasn't whiffing melees, like, all the time before this update. Like, every once in a while, there'd be like, that should have connected, and it didn't. But it wasn't like... It wasn't happening all the time to where I felt like it was a huge thing impacting gameplay on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, like, it didn't bother you a ton in the first place.
No, yeah, like, every once in a while, there'd be an issue, but it wasn't,
And I have that, too, in the game. It's usually lag-related, but I can never tell. What about you, CJ?
The testing field is Iron Banner and Trials.
Yeah, so you're going to wait for this week.
Exactly, yeah, because all the game types, Control and Rumble and all that stuff, it's hard to tell until you get into those modes, in my opinion.
Just laughing because all this guy plays is Trials. I don't think he does anything except for like 12-hour runs of Trials at like midnight to 8 a.m.
That lighthouse sun,
Yeah. Exactly.
I need it.
So that's Melees. Let us know what you guys thought. Obviously, in the comments, would love to see what everybody who's watching the show, listening to the show, thinks. So let's move on to the next topic, the Art of Destiny. This was a Twitch stream. I know you guys didn't get a chance to catch it yet, right?
Not yet.
Yeah, it was just the other day. But what I thought was really interesting, and I actually have to watch it in full, but I watched some of it. This had happened, I think it was back at GDC when they showed some of this to a smaller audience, and so now they brought it out more broadly. I think they added even more to it, but they showed like iconography, things that have not, how it transformed, emblems, capes, and like these are like high-res concept art, it's not just in the game. They showed some of the evolution of like the class icons for the various characters. I found it was really interesting. They were talking about Sleeper Simulant, and so they went through like these various renditions, but they have like cool full-on art of Rasputin's lair, that's not from the game, and so you get a real chance to see the vision behind the game. And as they put it in their own words, sometimes it's just art. It's not meant to go in the game. It's just to inspire, to look at. So you kind of got to keep that in mind looking through it. One piece that I thought was really cool is in the midst of it, they showed just what they said they really thought represented the feel of Destiny. It was like this loot chest with skulls on it, a couple chains, it looked like it was on the moon. And then it had these glowing ice cubes, which were like big ice cubes, essentially. And that's glimmer, these glowing blue pieces of glimmer. I guess in my mind, I've always thought of them as like much smaller, but they're like huge pieces, like almost half brick, so to speak, in the concept art. So anyway, really cool stuff in there. The next streams that are coming up are the Raid, which I think is going to be really interesting, and that is next Wednesday, May 18th. And then after that is a ride-along in the Crucible, where they're going to talk about that. So, I think they're doing a really good job of sharing a lot more insight in a time where, honestly, we need something more to talk about, more to latch onto and discuss.
Yeah, we talked about this on a previous episode. Like, these streams are cool, but ultimately I think they really only serve those people who are, like, super interested, like, to take deep dives into, like those people who are, really interested in reading all the lore and the Grimoire cards and all that stuff. I mean, it's cool, and maybe I'll, take a look at some of the highlights, but ultimately, like, not the most engaging thing for me.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this discussion before. Yeah. It's like, it's an hour of your time. Especially a stream like the Art of Destiny, you're going to have to watch. I don't think you could listen, but I don't think it's nearly as impactful,
especially with the art,
It's not for everybody. Yeah, that's the point, though.
And Destiny's environments and art and concept stuff is like the strength of Destiny. Like all of their stuff looks so beautiful. Cool. Yeah, like I did a stream. What was I doing? Was it Iron Banner? Yeah, I was doing an Iron Banner stream like last week or 2 weeks ago here on IGN, and Kyle O'Connor was like my co-host, and he doesn't play Destiny, and he was just remarking the whole time, like, man, these characters and this armor and these guns, like they look so cool. Yeah, and that is totally true of Bungie. Like their design and their aesthetics are like, second to none, basically.
Yeah, when Destiny came out, that was my biggest thing. It's like it may not have been 60 frames a second, it may not have been the like highest performing graphic engine in the world, but for what it pulled off and artistically, and honestly, that's usually the games that I think are best, call it graphics and art direction and everything together. It's just like the feel of the world really comes together. And Bungie, between the lighting, the way they handle textures and everything, you see some of this concept art and you're like, yeah, I get, like the feel is there. Other games you see stuff and it's like, wow, I wish it was that.
Yeah.
But this feels like art.
It's a good looking game still. I mean, when you compare it against other stuff that's being released in the last like 6 months, years, like it's amazing how
not even just good, great.
Well, yeah, it's amazing. And especially where, they, were, trying to keep it consistent for Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 as well. Like when you think of that in general and how they were able to achieve that, it's still mind-boggling. So
yeah, I mean, Bungie, over a decade-old plus studio, I mean, they've got really good talent, and that is it's just a difference you see with a studio like that. They've been doing this a long time. Yeah. They know how to bring that to life.
I also don't think Destiny's the type of game that needs 60 frames a second. So like the fact that it's locked at 30 gives them this greater ability to
I hear the the internet starting to rumble in disagreement, Sean.
I think I don't know. Maybe it's controversial of me to say, but if you're the type of person who demands 60 frames a second without any sort of explanation as to the benefits of not having 60 frames a second, then I think you're kind of a fanboy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at it this way. It depends on the mode you're playing, because I would 100% argue like the single player experience, or sorry, I'm so old school like that. The campaign experience, PvE, is totally like, 30 frames works fine. I don't feel like I need that accuracy of the gunplay. It'd be nice. At the same time, I love the beauty of it, like you're saying, and there's that trade-off. And I also don't want frame rate inconsistency. We already see some of that. So it's a choice.
So rarely, though.
Yeah, but the point is, that's the reason you choose not to try to hit 60. But I will say for PvP, man, I'm dying for 60 frames a second at this point.
I'm really not. Not in Destiny.
Totally am. I'm back and forth because, I mean, especially, the last little bit, like I love 60 frame per second games, like Call of Duty, Halo, all that stuff. But even with the recent addition to 60 frames in Halo, it's like there were some major sacrifices, texture pop-ins and graphical detail and lighting and stuff like that. Like the campaign of Halo looks very different from the multiplayer. Yeah. That's jarring. Like for me personally.
That's what I was going to say, is like you make compromises as a designer if you want to hit 60 frames a second. Like look at, and I know we don't have Gears of War out yet. Gears of War 4. Yeah, sorry, I got super jumbled up there. I know we don't have Gears of War 4 out yet, but they are doing a 30 FPS campaign where they're going to amp up all of the environments and detail and aesthetics and lighting and shadows and all that stuff, but the multiplayer will be 60 frames a second.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and what we've seen of the 60 frames a second multiplayer is that it looks terrible.
Right. Well,
like it looks
but
terrible.
Playably, it may play great.
Right.
Maybe.
And that's the thing is like as a multiplayer first guy, I'm the type of person who says that a game's graphics doesn't really matter because you're focused in a multiplayer game on the gameplay. You want it to be responsive. You want it to be crisp and like accurate. But I think Destiny is like it's pretty much there. Like, do you really think that you need more responsiveness than is already in the gameplay? Other than that, just philosophically, you're getting it because of 60 frames a second.
Like, could you play CS:GO at 30?
Again, different game.
It's not built for it.
And that game looks terrible anyway. So
that's why. So it runs so smoothly.
I mean, it doesn't actually look terrible.
No,
like 1.6 and Source now look dated, but like by Counter-Strike, by Counter-Strike Global Offensive standards, by Counter-Strike standards, Global Offensive, which is the current iteration, is actually a pretty game.
Yeah.
Pretty
look,
for what it is.
I think we tabled the topic for later, but the point I was trying to make is there's a reason and a feel of 60 that people really latch onto, especially in the competitive field, and I think that's where Destiny isn't really seen like that.
Destiny is not that game, though.
No, it's not.
We don't have lobbies. We don't have private matches. We don't have tournaments. We don't have LAN.
Yeah, I mean that is a whole separate chat. I know.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like philosophically, all of these things just don't fit into what the DNA of Destiny is.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the topic.
60 frames a second.
It's not binary. I actually really enjoy PvP, and I know a ton of people who are like, I hate playing it at 30. But it's like.
How do they know that they would prefer 60? It's never existed in Destiny.
No, because you play any other shooter that is 60, and there's a certain feel to it. So,
but Halo traditionally was 30 frames a second.
Yeah, exactly. And
until the last Halo.
And that's the thing. I think it's
more
of the. Yeah, but what was it? Yeah, for a few frames.
It was less than. Yeah, it was less than.
Exactly.
Easy to render 280p.
Yeah. No, it is one of those things. Destiny, and I think the reason why I love it so much is it does have a unique feel to it that I don't think a game has achieved in that way since Halo 2. I mean, Call of Duty did its own thing, and there's been a bunch of other games who have done their own things. Destiny is something similar to Halo, but is dramatically different from even the weapon balancing. Like that conversation, I remember you guys having the earlier versions of Fireteam chat. It was like, oh, I feel like I'm playing a beta.
We call them the non-video guy versions.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, now that I'm here, just to but it's like now you just get past that. Now it's like Destiny, it's its own thing. The weapon balancing is always going to be a constant evolution. Saying, oh, there's no, you introduce a new weapon as a DLC that breaks the game. It's like, no, that's the game. Destiny iterates and evolves, and that took a long time for people to actually psychologically process that.
There's just a lot of people who don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like that you're changing my weapon, and it still hurts sometimes when you nerf Plan C for a good year. I mean,
I knew you had an agenda.
I'm just saying.
There it is.
I'm adapting. I'm just saying that's the piece of puzzle.
I see. He wants his cake, and you get the.
Come on now.
I can't do quotes right now. Let's move on. We're almost at time. Actually, let's save the 60 frames. Discussion for later, even though we basically just had it without Destiny. Okay, next topic, recruitment. Actually, these are looking for Guardian type features. And so what they're talking about is in the companion app, so wherever you can get that in iOS or Android, they're going to add filters. So it's interesting because basically that's all these is a way to say, hey, look, I'm looking for a King's Fall Heroic on a PS4, and I need a guide, or I need one more player, or whatever it is. And so they're going to be adding these features of platform, the activity type, how many spots you need, guide options, and then they also had notes on select tone and select intensity. I'm not sure what those options are yet. They were under mic, but I'm not clear. They didn't show what those meant, so I didn't know if it was like... I assume it has to do with sound and mic because it was right under the checkbox of must-have microphone. It's probably something way more obvious than that. So let us know in the comments if you understand what that is or have seen that before. But anyway, I think this is great. We always have brought that up in the past, and I think we've all just kind of adapted. But it's really hard to find people to play, be it Prison of Elders or Trials especially, or other things where you just want to jump in and play. And so the fact that Bungie is going to officially support an easier way to do that through the app, great step forward. I think they're still going to be very resistant on raid matchmaking and some other stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think this calms I want raid matchmaking people who never go away?
I don't think it does. But I think it's good that they're saying, look, official app supports it. That's where you move your items around. That's the official vault support to move between characters and stuff. So I think it's a great step forward. They didn't say exactly when it's come out, but they wanted to say, hey, look, we're working on it. We're doing something.
Whenever I'm playing Destiny, I have the app there. Mm-hmm. Like, it's right there on my phone. It's just sitting next to me on the couch. I I don't know. I don't really get the. I've never
It's
really
not
understood.
inconvenient to you
To what?
to use the app.
I mean, it's a
I didn't
little
know if that's where you're
inconvenient.
going. Like I use other apps. Like I use Loadouts is my favorite.
Oh, you use a different app.
Yeah, I don't like transferring weapons in the main app, even with the improvements. I like
Yeah.
a big list of weapons. The way Loadouts works is different than the others. Is it's not character and what they have on them. It's literally
But
primary everything listed by light level, special everything by what, and you tap and send. That for me works great. I know other people like other ways.
I like Dim.
Like
Yeah.
Dim,
Dim's
Destiny Item
awesome.
Manager.
Yeah.
There's Ishtar. Not Sync. That's the name
So
of the place. But
Destiny Item Manager I used on my
Ishtar
desktop,
Commander.
but like I haven't found the default Destiny companion app on iPhone to be what I needed. It does what I needed to do.
Right. Well, anyway, let's not get too far off topic on that. I like the app. There's a lot of different
Are we
apps,
talking
but this
about
was
the app?
meaning this was just about looking for teammates and stuff like that. So I think it's great that they're adding it.
Oh, yeah, me
to the
too.
main app. I think it is absolutely a long overdue need, to be quite honest. And so we'll see how good it works. But like even for me, I have the good fortune of all of you Guardians out there who've come and be my friends on PlayStation and made it easier for me to find people. But I know there's a ton of people that don't have that luxury. That's why we have places like the Fireteam Chat podcast group on Facebook. We have, well, you can find us on YouTube. You can go reach out probably people there in the comments and so on. But it's hard. And so the easier that it is to like hop on at a time that you do not have planned and say, yo, do you want to play Trials? Can we put together a raid? I think that's great that they're supporting that instead of leaving it to the community, which they've sort of officially said before, like, look, we know that there's services for that. You guys can figure that out. But now they're saying, nope, we're going to help you out.
Within the context, though, of like doing that, I will say this, like the community finds a way to do lots of different things. So it is cool that, within the context of thinking about them having to redesign a UI every time somebody in the community does something really cool, it's really neat that they kind of go, oh, you know what? We're going to leave the game UI as is. Because I would like some of these things to be in there.
Yeah.
But the amount of time and energy that it would take to probably evolution and sort out putting those things in the game that people are doing on the internet and on your computer and on your phone, it's cool that they're kind of going, hey, you know what?
It's also like
we know that that's there and that's good, but use those things and we'll do our best to slot whatever is applicable within the game.
it's probably also a big networking challenge, right? To be able to filter all those Guardians by all these little options and stuff, depending on where they are in the world. Like that's probably got to be a tough thing to do. Like from a networking perspective, I'm not an engineer or a designer, but
open a web page out in your console or whatever. Like seriously, but different discussion.
Point is,
I
like,
would love it in the game. Is my point. But
I
it's
think
not
everyone
gonna
would
be
love
that
it in the game, but this is a pretty good
is.
good thing because here's the other thing is like you could the other thing that like I don't think is immediately obvious to people is that this is all stuff that you could do before you even get to your console. So you could be planning your raid hours in advance. Like, hey, I'm getting off work at this time. How about I send you an invite and you can assemble your crew beforehand if you're not the type of person who already has a crew.
That's a great point. Touche, right? It's like, well, okay, if it was trapped in the game, you'd be complaining that you can't send stuff outside of
So
the
that's the thing. What would you rather? Would you rather this all be in the game or have this?
Are they mutually exclusive? Like, does it have
Unlike
to
you,
be
I
either
want
or?
weapons to iterate and not to touch Plan C. That's what I want both, as we just
That's true. I mean, that's fair. That's
So I
right.
want both.
I mean, this is really cool because it'll allow people to find people to play with. I never really thought that finding people to play with was a difficult thing in the first place.
But you already have a big network of friends, and so anyway, it's great they're officially supporting it. We know LFG is like really important to a ton of people. That's still going to exist. Doesn't change that. You don't need to move. But they have now adding it to the app, and if they evolve it, it could be really interesting. And one last feature that we'll touch on before we go is it had like this approval function of letting people into your fire team is sort of letting the other person know, yes, you're in while you try to arrange the invites. I thought, I mean, that's how I read it. And so I think that makes a lot of sense. And it's a cool feature saying, hey, yes, you're in. It's been approved as part of the app. So that gives you a lot of confidence that you're not going to be wasting time, hopefully. I think the point that they were making is like, it's not going to be part of the game, but tied into the apps are, of course, people's official network tags on the platforms they're playing on. So really, I think it's convenient. It's just a peek into what's coming, so we have to like wait and see on this one. But kudos to that. I'm glad they're supporting it. Yeah. So that is it for today's
raid matchmaking next patch.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well,
Probably not.
So that's it for today's show. Episode 70. Again, Destin, we miss you. I believe he's coming back very soon. Thank you guys and girls and everybody out there who joins us on the show every week. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel that we just launched at /Fireteam You can find us. Let's go through the list real fast, Sean.
Find me on Twitter at @ShopByFinnegan.
CJ.
At Gibson Films and on PS4, the video guy _ in between.
man, he really wants you to play Trials with him.
Let's do it.
If you're extremely good, he's got a high bar. And then I'm just Fran Mirabella on Twitter, FM3 on PlayStation 4 and Xbox, although I don't play Destiny on there. So that's it for this week's show. And as always, guys,
Guardians out.